Ethan Carter stepped out of the elevator on the 23rd floor of the headquarters of Carter Industries. At 34, he was one of the youngest CEOs in the region. After losing his wife several years earlier, he had thrown himself into building the company while raising his 8-year-old son, Noah. Balancing fatherhood and leadership wasn't easy, but Noah remained the center of his world. That afternoon, Ethan was reviewing preparations for an important investor visit when he noticed someone cleaning the hallway outside a conference room. The woman pushed a mop slowly across the floor, stopping every few moments to catch her breath. Something about her looked familiar. Ethan took a few steps closer. The woman looked up. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Sarah. The mop slipped from her hands. Ethan. It had been nearly 15 years since they had seen each other. Growing up, Ethan and Sarah Mitchell had been inseparable. They lived on the same street, attended the same schools, and spent countless afternoons dreaming about their futures. Sarah had wanted to become a teacher. Ethan had talked about starting a business someday. Life, however, had taken them in very different directions. Sarah looked away, clearly embarrassed. Her cleaning uniform was worn. Dark circles sat beneath her eyes. And most noticeably, she was pregnant. Ethan's heart sank. What happened? He asked gently. Sarah hesitated. Then, little by little, the story emerged. After college, she married a man she believed would build a future with her. Instead, he accumulated debt, disappeared when things became difficult, and left her alone shortly after she became pregnant. Without family support nearby and facing mounting bills, Sarah took the first job she could find. Cleaning offices at night. Skipping meals to save money. Working until exhaustion because she couldn't afford not to. Ethan listened quietly. The more she spoke, the harder it became to hide the pain behind her smile. What about your teaching degree? He asked. Sarah laughed sadly. Dreams don't pay rent. The answer stayed with him. That evening, Ethan couldn't stop thinking about the girl who had once spent hours helping him study for exams and encouraging him when he doubted himself. Years ago, when his father lost his job, Sarah's family had quietly brought groceries to their house for months without expecting anything in return. She had helped his family during one of the hardest periods of his life. Now she was struggling alone. The next morning, Sarah was called to the executive floor. Terrified she had done something wrong, she entered the conference room expecting a complaint. Instead, Ethan was waiting. Along with the company's human resources director. And a folder sitting on the table. Confused, Sarah opened it. Her eyes widened. Inside was a full scholarship through the company's education program, paid maternity leave, health insurance, childcare assistance after the baby was born, and a position within the company's training department designed to help her return to education. Tears filled her eyes. I can't accept this. Ethan smiled. Why not? Because I didn't earn it. Ethan shook his head. You earned it a long time ago. Sarah stared at him. Then Ethan reminded her about the groceries. The tutoring sessions. The encouragement she gave a shy teenager who dreamed of becoming something more. You helped me when nobody else noticed, he said. Sarah could barely speak. But before she could respond, Ethan slid one final document across the table. And what she saw there made her completely speechless. Sarah wiped tears from her eyes and looked down at the final document. For several seconds, she simply stared. Then she looked up at Ethan. What is this? Her voice barely came out as a whisper. The document wasn't another benefit package. It wasn't a contract. It wasn't a loan. It was an offer to lead a new educational outreach program that Carter Industries planned to launch across the city. The program would provide tutoring, mentorship, and career support for struggling students and single parents trying to rebuild their lives. And Ethan wanted Sarah to help design it. She looked at him in disbelief. You want me to run this? Ethan nodded. I want the person who never stopped helping people. Sarah shook her head immediately. I've been cleaning floors for years. No, Ethan replied gently. You've been surviving for years. The room fell silent. For the first time in a long time, someone wasn't defining Sarah by her circumstances. They were defining her by her character. Over the following weeks, Sarah slowly accepted the opportunity. The company helped her complete additional certification courses. Mentors worked with her. Training sessions restored confidence she thought she had lost forever. For the first time since her marriage had fallen apart, she began to imagine a future instead of merely trying to survive the present. Months later, Sarah gave birth to a healthy baby girl. Ethan and Noah visited the hospital carrying flowers and a stuffed teddy bear. As Sarah held her daughter, she looked happier than Ethan had seen her in years. "What are you going to name her?" Noah asked. Sarah smiled. "Hope." The name felt perfect. Because that was exactly what had returned to her life. The following year, Sarah's education program officially launched. What began as a small initiative quickly grew. Single mothers found childcare support. Students received tutoring. Parents who had abandoned their dreams discovered pathways back into education and employment. Many participants never met Ethan. But they met Sarah. And Sarah understood their struggles because she had lived them. One afternoon, a young pregnant woman entered the program office in tears. She had lost her job and didn't know how she would support her baby. As Sarah listened, she saw a reflection of her former self. When the woman finished speaking, Sarah smiled gently. "You're going to be okay." The woman looked uncertain. "How do you know?" Sarah glanced toward a framed photograph hanging on her office wall. It showed her, baby Hope, Noah, and Ethan at the program's grand opening. "Because someone once said the same thing to me." Years passed. The program expanded to multiple